everyone. I am Jonah S. Namoko, a second-year student under BS Ed major in Social Studies. In this video, I will be discussing the instructional learning process under Unit 5 Learner-Centered Lesson Plan. So first, let us define what is instructional learning process. So instruction and learning processes are defined as the interactions between the learners and the teachers. So instruction is planned according to the curricula, based on the needs identified through assessment and made possible through training of teachers. Instruction learning process have three subpoints. So these are learning objectives, teaching content, and lesson planning. And I will just only tackling the learning objectives. So what is learning objectives? Okay, so learning objectives, it should be brief, clear, specific statements of what learners will be able to do at the end of the lesson. So learning objectives, it is a result of the activities, teaching and learning that has taken place. Or these are also sometimes called learning outcomes. So why is learning objective important? So is very important? It is very important because it helps to articulate what students should be able to do as a result of instruction, and consequently aid in designing more effective instruction planning, activities, and assessment. So as a future educator, I know and we know that we will make a lesson plan every time we're going to discuss to our students, right? So for us to be guided in making a lesson plan, we have to know the learning objectives. So learning objectives are known to be made up of number of components. So there are 4 components of learning objectives. So these are audience, condition, standards, and behavior. So these 4 components, let us discuss it one by one. So first, let's begin in audience. Audience, learning objectives should always specify the audience they are intended to serve. So the audience are the participants in a training program. For example, in the phrase, learners will be able. Okay, so the learners are the audience in this phrase. Although there may be different groups of participants in a training program, such as learners, instructors, supervisors, and facilitators, but you should describe the exact intended audience. Okay, this helps in making the objectives measurable. Next is behavior. So what is behavior? Behaviors are observable actions that are supposed to be accomplished by the end of a training session or program and should be demonstrated during the program. Okay, so behavior, this is very important to write a clear learning objectives, to carefully choose the most appropriate word that describes the behaviors displayed by the participants in the program after the training is done. So, example of action verbs that you might use include identify, analyze, or list. Okay, so these are the verbs. These are important part of any learning objectives because they identify what has achieved by the end of the training program. Okay, so and we should also be careful in using general verb such as know and understand. Let's for instance, in this phrase, learners will be able to list important market for electronic products. So this is the right verb that we use, list. Rather than learners will know the important market for electronic products. So we will not use know because this is to generalize. Next is the standard. So what is standard? Learning objectives should identify to what standards a given skill or knowledge must be achieved by the learner. So in other words, the standard used in objectives give the proficiency to which the training will elicit in the learners. Therefore, it is important for you to give the specifics of how a learner will be able to perform a given task in terms of quality and quantity. For example, in the objectives, the learners should be able to identify 95 of errors. So here in this phrase, 95% of errors is the standard. Okay? So, next is condition. So, what is condition? A condition is an objective specifies the conditions under which given task should be performed. So, the condition, these are the actual conditions a given task should take place. The conditions may include time and place. An example of a condition in an objective is, after this program, the learner should be able to take less than 5 minutes in successfully predicting the performance of a given stock. So, in this phrase, less than 5 minutes represents the condition. Okay. And also, in writing a clear objectives, it should be smart. So, how to make your learning objective smart? Okay, so first, what is SMART stand for? Okay, S stand for specific, M measurable, A action-oriented, R realistic, and T time-bound. Okay, so once you have developed your learning objectives, it is important to check and ensure that they are all SMART. Here is how to ensure that your corporate learning objectives are SMART. So, let us define one by one of SMART. Okay, first is specific. Go through your objectives and ensure that they are clear. Okay, make sure that your learning objectives and expected outcomes of the student's learning, attitudes, skills, and knowledge that is expected to demonstrate after undergoing a given training program are very specific and clear. Next is measurable. So what is measurable? It ensures that the achievement of the objective can actually be measured. You should check your objectives to ensure that the achievement of the objective can actually be measured by the assessments, strategies such as observation, test item, or problem-solving exercise. Okay, so that is measurable. Next is action-oriented. So what is action-oriented? Ensure that your objectives are action-oriented. You should know the proper use of action verb that demonstrate the skills, knowledge, and attitudes to be acquired. So, next is realistic. Your objectives should be reasonable. Ensure that they are all reflect reasonable expectations in terms of the attitudes, knowledge, and skills to be acquired within the given time frame and training scope. Okay. Next is, the last one is time-bound. The learning objectives should have a time limit. Okay. Make sure that in making learning objectives, your expectations must have a time limit. This is usually done by using the phrase, okay, this is, for example, by the end of this training, okay, this can be done by any other means, but the time frame must be specific. So that would be all for my discussion. I hope that you learned something about my topic, the learning objectives, because this is very important in writing a lesson plan. And thank you for watching, and God bless everyone.